This month marks 28 years since the 1995 Derecho. High winds tracked across 800 miles over 12 hours. It killed 7 people and several dozen were hurt. It brought damage to homes, cars, and campsites. Carmen Dexter reports.
By mid-morning, they were cleaning up the site where the LaPierres and 10-year-old Jennifer Welch had been sleeping. The storm took down some 200 trees at this KOA Campground at Lake Luzerne. One of them fell on the LaPierres' pop-up tent. Kimberly DeSantis was camping just a few yards away and was just returning to her tent.
Then the winds just picked up like you would not believe, and just trees were bending over, and we heard the first snap and we were scared. We didn't know where to run. We were running for our lives.
DeSantis was the first to call 911. She says she knew something had happened to the people in the tent. The storm tore through the campground, leaving trees uprooted like this one behind me. It happened so quickly, campers had no warning at all. Campground owner Don O'Neill says he's never seen anything like it.
There was a camper up at the other end up here, and he said all of a sudden the trees started falling, and there was just no warning at all. There was nothing, it just happened.
And even the sunshine later in the day can't keep DeSantis from shaking.
All you could hear was the cracking of the trees, and I'm still gonna hear that for a long time. I mean, it was so scary. I'm never coming camping. I've been camping ever since I was a little girl, and I'll never go camping again, ever.
Carmen Dexter, News Channel 13.
This is a special edition of News Vault 13. We're joined now by Chief Meteorologist Paul Caiano, who's here to talk about this storm, and you covered this only 2 years into your career here.
Yeah, it was a remarkable system, and for so many different reasons. I mean, every storm seems unique around here, and this one came through first thing in the morning, so most people were sleeping and had no idea, and that's the first thing that I remember about it, how in just how powerful it was for that time of day.
Right, and since it did happen so early in the morning, most people were asleep. Were there any sort of indications the day before that this might be something?
Yeah, I mean, it was record heat the day before. There was all kinds of storms firing, but they were so far away. Southern Ontario, the Great Lakes, out by the upper Midwest. And you kind of knew that something could fire, but would it get this far downstream? Because, I mean, sometimes these things can last a long time, but other times they tend to go even 100 or 200 miles, then they fizzle out, they just lose steam.
Right, and we saw a story before this, how intense this storm was, and this was 2 years into career here at News Channel 13. What stuck out at you the day of the storm, after you were probably following the news there? What sort of stuck out to you about this?
How remarkable the atmosphere is and how Mother Nature is. There's, being so young and you see some things in person, but you clearly haven't experienced everything yet. I mean, I don't know if you ever do, really. But what stood out to me more than anything was just the power of this thunderstorm complex. I had never seen anything like that, and I had been through hurricanes, and I had seen my share of thunderstorm damage. I had never seen anything like this.
And have you seen anything like that since?
Similar, but probably this would be at the top.
Really?
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, for
so walk us through that day. The storm hits early in the morning. What you wake up? What went through your head?
Well, I have kind of a unique story for this because it actually started from the evening before. I mentioned there was record heat. I was at a party with a radio station that I had made friends with, and we were at Glenn Sanders' mansion, and it was just this massive party, but it was 99 degrees, and everybody was wondering, would we hit 100 degrees that day? It turned out to be 99.3, so it was close. But that set the stage for everything, and then after the party, we went to this guy's house who had a pool, and we kind of moved the party over to this place, which went into, deeper into the night, which was great. But it turns out that a lot of people stayed at the house and a lot of people left, and I happened to stay. But I was just hanging out with some friends, and I wound up, it was just so hot and humid, and it started to get more refreshing outside. So I was in a lounge chair by the pool, and I just went to sleep. So I happened to sleep outside that night, only to be woken up by a big cold raindrop on my head at about 5 o'clock in the morning. And I woke up and I said, oh, it's going to rain. And then I said, well, why is it going to rain now? What's making this happen? Because, of course, I've got to figure out what the situation is, right? But before I knew it, it started pouring, and the wind started to pick up. So I went to the sliding glass door, and it was locked. So I'm at the house, and I'm knocking nicely on the sliding glass door, and nobody's answering it. So and then everything started going downhill real
quickly.
fast. And luckily, the back of the house was facing where the wind was blowing to. So I put my back up against the house, and all of the wind from the sides of the house were blowing everything you can imagine around the house. All the trash cans, tree limbs, everything flying, lawn furniture, just everything blowing around the sides of the house.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm here being protected by the house. and everything's just, all hell's breaking loose, and the rain's coming down. And then the next thing you know, all the furniture on the deck, the patio, a glass table, a nice, beautiful glass table, flipped over and smashed into the pool, and everything just came by so quickly. And I experienced it outdoors, which might also be why I still think it's the most significant storm complex that I've ever witnessed. I didn't have the safety of even a vehicle at that point. So it was over with pretty quickly, but the sights that I saw, in the movie Twister, where the cow goes flying by, I didn't see any livestock, but I think it could have happened if something was available to be blown through. Come to find out later that there were 80-mile-an-hour winds.
Sure. In that moment, did you think, this is a tornado? What is going on? What were you thinking besides just, I need to make sure this house doesn't blow away?
Yeah, I mean, the thought of it being a tornado, I didn't think that was the case because of the way the setup was. I knew that this was most likely straight line winds. But the fact that it came through so intensely at that hour of the day made it really unique.
Right. What do you, I guess people talk about this storm, we're obviously remembering it here from 1995. What do you want people to know about storms like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's always important to know the potential, right? We talk about it all the time. Are there watches? Are there warnings? What are the key signs? Because potential is half the battle. If you know that a situation can unfold, then, for the overwhelming majority of the time where it doesn't, you're ready anyway. And then when it does, you're prepared. So this was one of the times where I really wasn't expecting it. Most of the times I am, but just keep weather aware and know what you're going to do in the event that something like this happens. And another part of the story that I'm sure, we talk about is all the tree damage in the Adirondacks and everything. I mean, it's dangerous for people camping, and know your escape routes, know where you're at all times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When the people who were inside the house woke up and realized they had locked you outside during this, what did they say?
They were thrilled. It was funny for them. They enjoyed it.
Do they still bring it up every so often?
Yeah, I mean, of course, we all have that common experience, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
That story comes up quite a bit.
Brutal. On the more science side of things, we have your observations from that day.
Yes, the paper that. So what just a quick background. Going way back into the 80s, everyone who's worked in this office has filled out a daily observation report. So I look back at 1995 in July, and here it is, 99.3 degrees was the high for that day. I wrote down hazy, hot, and humid. Broke the record from 1952 when it was 97. And then I put power out, large trees down across the region, early morning, mesoscale convective system, 6 to 7:30 a.m. So, wind gusts to 77 knots at the airport. So this is how we documented it back in 1995. It's pretty cool.
Is it fun to find that old document and be like, here it is, here's that day that we're talking about?
I can laugh at my handwriting. I was about 15 years old. But yes, it is. It's great to see records like that and know that you contributed to it.
Right.
This is what I saw.
Right, you were there.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, Paul, thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. And Paul mentioned the power outages, the trees that are down. Here's a story that talks about just that.
What we do, we give you a small block to put on the top shelf of your refrigerator.
They're rationing the dry ice at the Grafton fire station, 2 for the freezer, 1 for the fridge. It didn't take long to run out.
We started with 40 blocks, and we're down to less than a block left right now.
As many as 50% of Grafton's residents are without power. Barbara Raymond's heard it could be 5 days till it's back, and that means trouble.
I have a lot of nice meat in the freezer. The fridge is not that precious, but the freezer is.
It'll take a while to turn all the downed trees into firewood, and while the cleanup continues, a lot of folks are looking for somewhere to spend the night.
We can't take showers, we can't use the bathrooms, and we can't cook anything, so we'll probably stay down towards the city a little bit, off the mountain.
Port says they've been bathing in a nearby lake. She expects her power to be restored by tomorrow, but her phone is out until at least Tuesday. Back at the fire station, they've managed to track down a little more ice.
All right, we'll probably have somebody come down and pick up the 15 blocks of ice. What time?
The station will continue to provide dry ice and water throughout the week, as long as there are people around who need it. In Grafton, Carmen Dexter, News Channel 13.
In all, the 4 derechos that raced across the central and eastern parts of the country during July 1995 killed 14 people, hurt 100, and caused up to $1 billion in damages. For another look back into the vault on other newsworthy stories, head to our website, click on News Vault 13. I'm Rachel Teedy, opening News Vault 13.